Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. I'm going to be bold and say this to you. You want to watch and listen to the next, say, 25 minutes. It could profoundly change your life, especially if you're going through some health issues right now, especially if you're dealing with disease. Maybe it's somebody you know. We're going to help you overcome disease, and she's got the credentials to help you do that. We've learned so much in the last few weeks about what causes disease. You know, if you're in it and you're dealing with it, what do we do from there? She helps a lot of people with that and so much more, change their health holistically. She's a wealth of knowledge. I walk around telling people what she tells me. I look like I'm really smart. I'm really not, but she is. Terry Morse from Morse Wellness joins us again here on the program. Terry, welcome back. How are you?
Hi, Steve. It's really great to be here all the time. I'm really excited about this topic. You know, you tuned in really nicely to what my thought was, which is this is the most important interview we've done, because this is where the rubber hits the road and people get to learn what actually they need to do if they're in trouble. It's really important to understand how our bodies work, and it's my mission to help people do that. It's very simple when you really get down to it, but we haven't been trained from childhood to know where organs are, what to do, and what to do if they go awry. So what I want to elucidate today is a very, very important topic, because it can keep you from making the wrong decisions, and it can help you to get better faster. So we're going to be dealing with acute symptoms and chronic symptoms, both chronic meaning maybe you've had little things going on over the years and you didn't pay much attention to it, but you should. And then eventually it manifests in a disease where, you know, you say, oh my gosh, I better go to the doctor. This sounds really terrible. Am I dying and whatever? Or something just acute like, oh, I can't deal with this. The pain is intense. What the heck? And so I want to deal with all of those things and tell people how to identify what's going on and then what to do about it, instead of maybe just taking an aspirin or ibuprofen or some other drug. There are some other things you can do that are much safer and much more effective. Does that make sense?
For sure. Now, there's so many different things that people could be dealing with. So how do we pick one of those, or is this kind of a one size fits all beginning to dealing or overcoming disease?
Well, we have to take individual things. Let's just start with a fever. You know, a lot of people, they'll have a child and the child will get a fever and they'll say, oh my gosh, what do I do with this fever? You let the fever burn itself out. It is not dangerous. You will not die from a fever unless it's like 108 or something like that, 107. You can get it really high. So that's a specific thing. I'm going to deal with a few other specifics, but also some generic things that are general for everybody. But why? The body's first inclination to help with a problem is to create inflammation, because the body will, when it's inflamed. As a matter of fact, there are devices out there, and I just bought one, that increases the temperature of your body so that you can heal. It's a wonderful, it's a foot type of thing. You put your feet on, it increases your temperature by a degree and a half. So inflammation is good. So how do you deal with that? Well, you know, it goes back to, and I do advise that people listen to the previous segments that I did, because it goes back to, how does your body work? What have you done to cause that kind of thing? Contrary to popular belief, things do not just arbitrarily happen in your body. There's a cause and effect relationship, just like in your automobile. There's a cause and there's an effect. And so perhaps you ate the wrong things. Perhaps you overate. Perhaps you ate at the wrong time of day. Perhaps you ate when you were too fatigued. These are things that people don't usually think about. They just think about, I'll eat if I'm hungry. But that's not the way it should be. We have to listen to our bodies and see when we should eat, what we should eat, and in what combination. So all that is in the previous lectures. I won't go into that. But that is one of the biggest causes of disease, is what we're eating. That makes sense, right?
Oh, for sure. I'm hearing that more and more and more. And you talked about it previously, but it is. And tell me if I'm wrong in assuming this. Mostly that is because of our food supply essentially being tainted.
Well, it is partly, but it isn't mostly. It is, the food supply is tainted, yes. And a lot of people will tell me, well, I went to Europe and they have higher standards and I didn't get sick eating the same things. Okay. But on the other hand, just like we talked before, if a person is eating when they're too fatigued, or if they're eating a steak with a baked potato, we talked about starches and proteins, and that's in the other lectures. So that can set us up for disease. So let's go into a little bit deeper.
Gotta stop. Hold on a second, because that's the one thing that I tell people, well, many things from you. I learned from you that if you eat a steak and you have a starch, like potato, the American staple diet, meat and potatoes, that combination causes the meat to rot in your stomach. Are you saying that if you continually eat that, it can be the setup for disease?
That's exactly what I'm saying. And that's what happens. I mean, I grew up American, okay? So I grew up in southern Minnesota, meat and potatoes, everything, the wrong thing that you should be doing. But I didn't know any better. Eating fruit with your meal, which you should not do. It should be alone. And by the time I was 25, I had liver issues. I didn't know that I had liver issues, but I had a symptom that related to the liver, which I didn't know about. And so what was that due to? Poor eating.
Wow. Yep. Wow. Oh, boy.
I was only 25, so then I had to learn how that goes. And so, it's an interesting thing because there's so much control we can have if we understand the principles. So let's just say a person has cancer, the big C, or they have diabetes, or they have something else that's a disease, a diagnosed disease. But by the way, as a segue, I will say this, there are 45,000 different labels for disease conditions. They're called diseases, but they're just labels. They're labels for something that the body has done that's gone out of whack. And so we should not think about disease labels as something that we own and that we can't get rid of. That's often shown to us or spoken. This is terminal, or you can't get over this. For the rest of your life, you're going to not be able to walk or whatever. Those are completely untrue statements. Those are statements based on the medical profession's knowledge and their skills, and they're so limited. They're incredibly limited. There's huge amounts of healing outside the medical profession. So one should never take a statement from a medical doctor as final, ever. Right? Got it?
I completely agree with that. And there are many great doctors out there. And it's not that you want to walk away from a medical opinion, but doesn't mean that that's the end all. Just because, and I think we skimmed upon this, that we put medical professionals, doctors on these pedestals, but they only have typically on average 11 minutes to see you. So I take that with a very large grain of salt.
And it's on nutrition in their trading.
For sure.
So let me get back here. What I said is that in one small course on nutrition in their training is what I said. I think it blocked me for a minute there. But I want to go back to the disease condition. Let's just say you have something that's a terminal disease or something that's very uncomfortable, that's chronic. What do you do? Well, it's very important to identify certain things to have in a person's first aid kit that you can run to. And a lot of people don't understand this because first aid typically talks about bruises, cuts, burns, broken bones, that type of thing. I'm talking about internal conditions in the body. So what do you need to have on hand? And we've talked about this before. Microbes, enzymes, and minerals. Those are the top three to just always have on hand and always be using day after day after day. Enzymes with every meal, minerals at least once or twice a day, and microbes at least once or twice or 3 times a day. These are the microbes from the soil I'm talking about, not the probiotics from the grocery store. So beyond that, then, what do you do to have a symptom? Well, there's something called chlorine dioxide. Very, very important. People should listen to the documentary called theuniversalantidote.com. Very important documentary, theuniversalantidote.com. Very important to know how this works, and you can purchase it right from that site, or I have it on my in my store also. But there's another thing that's very important because chlorine dioxide, that's what they use to clean up the anthrax scare back in the 1990s in Washington, D.C. It'll get rid of anything bad in your body. It'll even help your pets. So that's like a really first aid go-to type of thing. Another thing would be, let's just say, DMSO, dimethyl sulfoxide. Well, you don't need to know how to say that, but DMSO would be a good thing to remember. It's a solvent, and if you put it on different places of your body, it'll open up energy centers. Let's just say somebody's having a gallbladder attack. Put it on your gallbladder. Let's just say you're having thyroid problems. Put it externally on your thyroid. Somebody's having brain fog. They can ingest a little bit of it, but they can also put it on the different parts of their head, the front, the back, the top, and the sides, just a drop. And it starts opening up all these energy centers. Have you ever heard of that?
Never. Wow. So let's just, in case anybody missed that, this stuff, what's it called again?
DMSO is from trees. It comes from trees.
DMSO. And we should have this on hand if we're feeling something, whatever it might be. Let's say you had a sore throat for a day or two. Would it be reasonable to say, and put it there?
Absolutely.
Wow.
If you have hearing problems, put some in your ears. If you have a headache, put it where the headache is. Where you have stress muscles, anywhere. And I advise people twice a day to put it on top of the feet and on the bottom of the feet, because the feet have all the acupuncture points for everybody, every place in the body. The ears do too. If you have a heart issue, put it on your heart, put it on your liver. If you can't go to the bathroom, put it on your abdomen, digestive. It's a solvent. It goes right into the body, and it opens up energy centers and helps the body itself heal. It's good. It's cheap, really cheap. It's only $28 for 4 ounces.
Mm-hmm. So as long as you're saying that it is safe, right? What do you got to lose? What do you got to? I have different salves that I've gotten from herbalists, and I use them. If I have occasional shoulder pain from playing tennis in the summer, I'll take that stuff. It's got some CBD in it and some other stuff, and I'll just put it on there externally. Fascinating. DMSO, correct?
So, Steve, piggybacking on what you said, you can use those things, and people have essential oils and all kinds of things, but if you put DMSO on top of it, it'll drive that substance deeper into the tissue, so you'll have better effectiveness. So you can use it alone or with anything else. As an example, a lot of people know about castor oil packs, pure castor oil put on an organ or something, and it heals it, gets rid of pain, but you put DMSO on top of it, and it actually creates a heating effect. So it drives it deeper into the tissue. There are so many uses for DMSO, even internally, like a quarter of a teaspoon in water internally helps to soften up every part of your body, absorb your nutrients better. So that's a real go-to, an easy thing, because sometimes you say, well, gosh, I thought I was dying. And then somebody came to, I think I told you this several months ago, a man came to my house and he thought he was dying. He was on the way to the doctor, and he turned around, came back to my house after we talked on the phone, and I doctored him with a few little things like that, and he was fine. He says, well, I'm glad I didn't go to the doctor, but he did go anyway, just for some x-rays and stuff like that. But, you can often just stop symptoms in their track, and then you have time to think about it. What am I going to do next?
Wow. All right. Where do we go from here? I've already written that down. The stuff that she talks about, I buy. I'm not even kidding. And I have to go look in your store again. But where do we go next?
Okay, I would like to mention methylene blue. Methylene blue is a substance that was used as a dye for fabrics back in the 1800s. And eventually they identified medicinal properties, and the FDA approved it as a drug. Well, it's very, very simple thing. It's a liquid. And again, it's not expensive. It's only like $48, $40, something like that for 4 ounces. And you take one drop in water. And when you take it, all brain fog goes away, just like that. Boom. And you know why? Because methylene blue brings more oxygen to every cell in your body, particularly the mitochondria. The mitochondria are tiny, tiny little organs inside of every cell. And if they don't have enough oxygen, they can't perform. And they are the crucial parts of your body that make you alive or not alive. They're little machines that manufacture ATP, adenosine triphosphate, which is chemical energy. And so if you don't have the chemical energy, your cells die. So you can upgrade all the cells in your body instantaneously by taking 1 drop of methylene blue. Now that's really something.
Wow. Wow. And it's perfectly safe. No side effects or anything that we need to be aware of?
Nope, no side effects at all. Except, I will say this, it's not a side effect. But if a person is incredibly toxic, or if they've taken a lot of inoculations that are poisonous, those types of things, or if they don't have enough minerals in their body. Let's say over time, they've done as best they could, but they didn't know how much they needed. So they're depleted nutritionally, let's put it that way. Then what I find, especially if they're toxic, is that the toxins will be thrown off so fast, it'll overload their systems and they'll think they're having a side effect to the methylene blue. That's not what's happening. The cells are much more productive. They're kicking things out. They're making you clean. So sometimes I have to have people take 1 drop in like a quart of water and just sip it a little bit at a time to make sure they're doing well. But and gradually people increase the amount. Some people take 20 or 30 or 40 drops a day. I take about 12 every day. Wow. But everybody's different, but you just upgrade your cells constantly.
Wow.
It's great. It's fun. It's fun to be effective like that. I'm sorry. Go ahead. What's that?
That's a pen so I can write it down. What's that called again?
Oh, methylene blue. METHYLENE. Blue. Methylene blue.
Wow.
Now, there are various, qualities of it on the market, but, I actually don't have a store on my website, but if people send a contact form on my website, then I can, give them the information on the methylene blue and ship it to them too, because I have a very high quality one. So we talked about enzymes previously. I want to talk about fenbendazole. Do you know about fenbendazole, Steve?
Nope.
Nope. It's a long word, so people abbreviate it fenben. And it's been used as a heart dewormer for dogs for years. And it's actually safe for humans, but I would advise that people get it in tableted form rather than paste. And it's very effective for getting rid of parasites and many other things. And so the underlying cause, as we spoke in last week, 2 weeks ago, of disease often is microbes, harmful microbes, and parasites. And so you can get rid of these things with fenben. And I carry that too, of course. It's very important to have on hand. I'm saying people should have these things on hand so they can grab it. And in addition to things that they would do like honey, ginger, apple cider vinegar, lemon, all these wonderful things, you need to have some heavy hitters like that so you can go in and really change the environment of your internal body parts.
There's so much that we're talking about here. You mentioned apple cider vinegar. I took that, 6-7 years ago. I was dealing with ulcer issues. What if you had you provide a tip sheet, have people go to your website and, you get their email address so they're connected to you, and just a tip sheet. I'm writing this stuff down, but, just a suggestion, the name of the compound, whatever it might be, and then what it does, and then when you should take it. I would love that. Here's my email.
Okay, that's what I'm going to do. And I am on vacation, working vacation, but I'm going to do it. And I'll put it on the education tab of the website. So it'll be there, but I'll email it to anybody who sends me a contact form with their email address. I'll send it to you. Yeah. I'll make it up.
Yeah.
That's a very good idea.
It's fantastic. And again, it goes back to when you talked about the enzymes, super enzymes. That's what it's called. I found it. I bought it based on what you said, just to improve your digestion. So we got about 4 minutes left here. What have we not hit when it comes to overcoming disease?
Well, a whole lot. I guess the main point I'd like to make at this time is that one should be always alert to the minor symptoms that come up. As an example, if there's ever any issue of digestion, pay attention to it. Start taking enzymes. Always take microbes and minerals, because those 3 things you have to have all the time. People say vitamins. They're not near so important as microbes and minerals and enzymes. They're important. You can have a multi, that's great. But the other thing I want to say before we close is that, let's see. Oh, I know. People have to understand that the underlying cause of disease often is 5G, radiation, emotional issues. So I'm dealing just with some of the physical parts here, but it's up to us individually to really hone in on what emotional issues are we not handling. Being straight with ourselves, being honest, and really working on those things goes a long ways, because it's now known over and over again that every chronic disease has basic emotional causes. So we can deal with some of the physical things, but the emotional causes, I recommend going to some kind of a therapist that would be like cranial sacral or Reiki or Rolfing or some body work that would help the individual release issues from the tissues. We've all got issues in our tissues. I mean, regular massage therapy, yeah, but it's not as effective as some of those other specific ones. And then deal with the physical parts of it, like I'm talking today. Does that answer your question, Steve?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I do want to ask you, and when you talk about relationships, I guess that's why they call them toxic relationships, because it's toxic to your body, not just your mind. What about energy healing? What are your feelings on that?
Well, energy healing works to a point, but depending on how it's done, some people use energy to help a person heal. Maybe that's exactly what you're referring to. But the real essence of healing is for the individual to confront themselves. And so you can get temporary relief from some of that other work, but getting to your own issues, and it can be part of energy healing, where energy healing helps a person bring these things to the surface and then face them. But it's essential. And, some people have a wonderful prayer routine, but asking the deeper questions of, what do I need to learn from this symptom? What do I need to learn from this situation? God is always with us, and it will respond no matter who or what you think God is. It's going to respond to us in some way and teach us, but we must ask. So I do promote that people ask, look at yourself and say, what do I need to know about myself? What do I need to know to go deeper? How can I go deeper? What can I do? The questions are vital, because the divine spirit will bring to us everything we need, but we have to ask. You see?
I'm a big believer in that. By the way, I mentioned energy healing because we talked about eradicating things in ourselves, things that are, could move through proper massage. So that's why I went there with that. And yeah, ask. The answer will be revealed. You'll get it, but you have to be open to getting it. How do we get you? How do we contact you? How do we connect with you? If somebody wants to, even, methylene blue, somebody's wondering about that. How do we find you, Terry?
Well, it's my website. It's my last name, Morse, like Morse code, Morse, morsewellness.org, or .com will get you there too, but .org is the real website. So, and then just fill out the contact form and put out a question. What do you want to know? And I can respond, or somebody else can, depending, and tell you what's available and what you can do and all of that. That makes sense.
Oh, fantastic. Mm-hmm. Terry, always great talking with you. I love it. You get right to the point. We have busy lives. You just hammer through, use this often, and on to the next thing. And it's great. You're a wealth of info and knowledge. And this is stuff you don't see this. You don't hear this anywhere else. So I truly appreciate it. And thank you for being here today.
Well, you're welcome. And I want to say the next one is on weight gain, weight loss. It's going to be very exciting.
Time to go to the gym.
Oh, no, that's not the answer.
I have questions. I have lots of questions when we get there. Enjoy the rest of your vacation and holidays, and we'll catch up soon.
Thank you, Steve. Talk to you later.
We'll be right back.
Bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.